Well, how's it going, everybody? Good evening to you all on this Veterans Day, actually. It is the premiere of our new show called From the Stretch. And this is, of course, November 2024. And I'm your host and moderator of From the Stretch. I'm Jason DeCanio, and welcoming you to this first show tonight, and hope that you are ready to go delving into some articles of current affairs and other interesting known facts, delving deeper into, um, stretching out the articles, history, and maybe some things you didn't know about the article that most journalists probably wouldn't even report on. Just giving you the basic stuff where we're going to give you the meat and bones of it all. And that's what the show is all about. That's why it's called From the Stretch, because we're stretching your mind, we're stretching your ideas, and we're going to stretch it to a point where you'll be so informed you want to go and continue on where we left off. Now, fitting for the Veterans Day, I keep saying Memorial Day, but fitting for Veterans Day, we have three articles, three events that have taken place over the course of the many years. And the first one we're going to be talking about is a day of remembrance, the Armistice of World War I. Now, this Armistice Day was actually on the exact date 1918. Okay. And then the next one in the events of Veterans Day would be honoring the unknown, the dedication of the Tomb of the Unknown Soldiers. Now, we're all familiar with that famous landmark in Washington, D.C., of the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier or soldiers, depending on who they're honoring at any given time. We'll delve into that as we go along on today's show. And then the third one, now these are all from November 11th, but on different dates. This one, third one, is A New Dawn, Angola Gains Independence. Something to look at, where we're going to be looking at this particular city or country finally gaining its independence somewhere around 1975. And that's what our show is all about. Those three events, or however many events that we're going to be looking at, plus a lot of other things that you might be interested in submitting to our show here on From the Stretch. Okay, let's go ahead and look at the first thing, which is a day of remembrance, the Armistice of World War I. So with that, we're going to pull up our screen and give you day in history part of it first, and then we'll look at Armistice Day, the Wikipedia part of it. Okay, so let me pull this over here so I can read it for you. And you can see me on the screen as well. Take that off. And so, the Day of Remembrance, the Armistice of World War I. Okay. Now, on November 11th, 1918, at the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month, an armistice was signed that marked the end of the hostilities of World War I. Now, this pivotal moment brought a cessation to 4 years of brutal conflict, which had claimed millions of lives and altered the course of history. Today, November 11th, is observed as Remembrance Day in many countries around the world, a day dedicated to honoring the sacrifices of military personnel who have lost their lives in the line of duty. This legacy of this date is profound, representing not just the end of a devastating war, but also a commitment to remembering those who served. And here's a big picture of it. That is very truly inspirational if you think about it with World War I. World War I, also known as the Great War that began in 1914 and involved numerous countries across Europe and beyond. The war was characterized by trench warfare, immense loss of life, and widespread destruction. But by 1918, the conflict had reached a stalemate, with both the Allied powers and the Central powers suffering immense casualties. As the war dragged on, public sentiment shifted, with calls for peace growing louder. The armistice, signed on November 11th of 1918, was the culmination of negotiations between the Allied powers and Germany. Exhausted and on the brink of collapse, Germany sought an end to hostilities. The terms of the armistice mandated the withdrawal of German forces from occupied territories, the surrender of military equipment, and the cessation of all fighting. And when the clock struck 11, a moment of silence fell across battlefields, signifying not just the end of the fighting, but the hope for lasting peace. There's another great picture. The signing of the armistice not only marked the end of World War I, but also laid the groundwork for future observances of Remembrance Day, also known as Armistice Day or Poppy Day. In the aftermath of the war, nations began to hold commemorative events to honor the fallen soldiers and reflect on the cost of conflict. The red poppy flower became a powerful symbol of remembrance, inspired by the famous World War I poem In Flanders Fields, written by Lieutenant Colonel John McCrae. Remembrance Day is observed in various countries, including Canada, the United Kingdom, Australia, and New Zealand, with ceremonies taking place at war memorials and military cemeteries. People wear poppies as a sign of respect and remembrance for those who served. The day serves as a solemn reminder of the sacrifices made by service members and the importance of striving for peace in the face of war. The legacy of November 11th extends beyond the immediate aftermath of World War I. The armistice and the subsequent observance of Remembrance Day serve as a crucial reminder of the horrors of war and the need for ongoing dialogue about peace and conflict resolution. As new generations confront the complexities of modern warfare and global conflicts, the lessons learned from the past remain vital. In many ways, Remembrance Day has evolved to honor all military personnel, including those who have served in subsequent conflicts and peacekeeping missions. The day encourages individuals and communities to reflect on the cost of war and to promote initiatives that support veterans and active service members. By remembering the sacrifices made, society can foster a deeper appreciation for the values of freedom, justice, and peace. And November 11th serves as a powerful reminder of the end of World War I and the sacrifices made by countless individuals in the pursuit of peace. The armistice of 1918 not only marked the conclusion of one of history's deadliest conflicts, but also established a tradition of remembrance that resonates to this day. As we commemorate this significant date, we honor the courage and commitment of those who have served, reaffirming our collective responsibility to promote peace and understanding in our world. Fantastic article. Great. I believe World War I is one of those wars that just for some reason or another doesn't play a really significant part in our history. And that to go that far back, we really have to delve deep into our history books to even understand what was going on in that time, those unstable times between Germany and the entire world. It seems as though in my book case that Germany was at its wit's end with everybody in the world. Seems like they were getting involved in everybody's business when really they wanted peace. But for some reason, they couldn't come to fruition and understand that the world doesn't always bow down to them. And same thing with all the other countries where they want to be the most dominant. Germany, as you can see, as they go into World War II with Hitler, takes a whole new turn on trying to be the dominant power. Then realizes, for what it's worth, the casualties. War is never the answer to the situation at hand. So it seems as though Germany was fighting not just World War I and World War II, but today they're still fighting for something that everybody wants: peace and freedom. Maybe it's time to look beyond those hostile living situations and those hostile traditions and be a good German person and realize that when you're German, you are a good person. You have values, you have morals, you have everything going for you. You also probably flock to the United States of America knowing that there is life to live and to have. And that's probably why we have a heavy German population here in the United States that fled the country due to the wars because they wanted a better life. Those who stayed in Germany beyond the mass chaos and all of the fighting, well, we truly honor them as well too for fighting out the toughest of the fights. And today they're probably still being really harsh and criticized for what had happened so many years ago. The past, well, we can never change it, unfortunately. But because of the past, we can improve on it. And as the Germans continued to go on in decade after World War II, they realized that all they wanted was peace to begin with, but they wanted it in a way that was costly. War is never the way to solve your problems, folks. Violence does not benefit either side of the coin. And unfortunately, we will always have that to fight with. But we do realize somewhere along the line that somebody's going to come out of this in a good way, and those the other way with dire consequences. It's unfortunate, but maybe we can find a way to negotiate our problems without fighting and without trying to overtake somebody else's land that they worked very hard for. There are so many debating questions on the situation, but today on Veterans Day, we should be honoring those who fought these wars, whether they were on the good side or the bad side, because casualties were lost on both sides. The honor and the privilege to have what they fought for us is what we truly remember on this day. And that's something we really need to understand and look back in our history books, because we could be on the brink of World War III, folks, if we don't have peace and stability in our worldly lives. You know, God says that we ought to love each other, no matter what our race, our creed, our culture. There's good and bad in everybody. And what you choose to do is whether you fuel war or you can stop the war of hate. That's what it is. It's pure hatred towards other people. That's why wars happen, because one group of people or a country wants total domination, and they'll seem to want to pay the price no matter how long it's going to take or who dies first or whatever the case. I don't like war, and I know our military doesn't like to go fight wars. And I believe their militaries don't like to go and fight wars. But if we have to defend ourselves for our freedom, we will do what it takes to get that which we truly and utterly work hard for each day, which is peace in our world. Well, let's move on to our next story that takes another look at another event. And this one is November 11th, 1921, honoring the unknown, the dedication of the tomb of the unknown soldier. So this one happened 3 years later on the event. And this one on November 11th, 1921, the tomb of the unknown soldier was dedicated at Arlington National Cemetery, becoming a solemn monument to honor all unidentified American soldiers who have died in combat. This hallowed site represents not only the sacrifices of those who served, but also the deep respect and gratitude a nation holds for its fallen heroes. The tomb stands as a poignant reminder of the human cost of war and the enduring legacy of those who have fought for freedom. The dedication of the tomb of the unknown soldier was part of a broader movement to commemorate the sacrifices made during World War I, which had claimed millions of lives across Europe. The war left many soldiers unidentifiable, buried in foreign soil, and their families without closure. Now, in the United States, the idea of honoring these unknown heroes gained traction, leading to the establishment of a tomb that would serve as a national symbol of mourning and remembrance. The process began when Congress passed a bill to honor unidentified American soldiers, and in March of 1921, the body of an unknown soldier was exhumed from a cemetery in France. The soldier was selected for his honor, representing the countless men who had given their lives in the war without receiving recognition. His remains were transported to the U.S. and laid to rest at Arlington, marking a significant moment in the nation's history. The dedication ceremony on November 11, 1921, coincided with the third anniversary of the armistice that ended World War I. It was attended by a large crowd, including dignitaries, military officials, and veterans. And President Warren G. Harding presided over the ceremony, delivering a moving address that emphasized the importance of honoring those who had sacrificed their lives for the country. The tomb itself is magnificent in structure and size, crafted from white marble and adorned with intricate carvings. The soldiers' remains were interred in a crypt, and the site was marked with a simple inscription: "Here rests, in honored glory, an American soldier known but to God." The dedication of the tomb of the unknown soldier established a tradition of respect for all soldiers who have died without recognition, transcending individual wars and conflicts. The tomb of the unknown soldier has since become a powerful symbol of remembrance and respect for all military personnel who have served the United States. The site is guarded 24 hours a day by the Tomb Guard, a sentinel unit of the United States Army, who ensures that the honor and dignity of the tomb are maintained at all times. Their dedication to this solemn duty reflects the commitment to honor all who have served, regardless of whether they are known or unknown. Every year on Veterans Day and other significant occasions, ceremonies are held at the tomb to honor the sacrifices of American soldiers. These gatherings provide an opportunity for the public to pay their respects and reflect on the cost of war. The tomb serves as a reminder of the nation's debt to those who have served and sacrificed, fostering a sense of gratitude and reflection. The dedication of the tomb of the unknown soldier on November 11, 1921, represents a profound moment in American history, honoring the sacrifices of unidentified soldiers who have fought in defense of freedom. As a lasting symbol of respect and remembrance, the tomb continues to evoke feelings of gratitude and reverence for all those who have served. And on Veterans Day and throughout the year, it stands as a powerful reminder of the human cost of war and the enduring legacy of sacrifice in the pursuit of liberty. And let me just say this, that ceremony is a powerful one, very involved, very inspiring, and very traditional. If you ever happen to go to the Tomb of the Unknown Soldiers, be prepared for a day at Arlington National Cemetery to get a firsthand look at how they really do it. And they do it with honor and dignity. Everyone must be quiet at that place because ceremonies are going on all the time. And flash photography, I think, is limited to, I'm not sure if it's just recording or something. I'm not sure. But you could always take a look at YouTube videos to get an idea if you really can't make it out there. But if it is something on your bucket list, you might want to take into consideration something that down the line, to see it in person is a very good thing. Well, coming to the end of our show, we have one more look at a current event. This promises to be an hour show, but it might only be a half-hour show depending on how many events. The shows will fluctuate between half hour and an hour. So in which way, either way, shape, or form, you'll get some events to dwell on, for that matter. And as our show grows in popularity, we'll go longer on these particular stretching reports and talk about things of everyday life in our world, not just current events, but what's going on in your neck of the woods. So we'll be looking at a lot of different things. This format had the format of the nightly news and DMS 3000 news, but it's going to be a different way of looking at it and a different title as well, as you can see. So our third event, A New Dawn, Angola gains independence. Now, in this case, Angola gains independence. Well, this date in 1975, Angola, a former Portuguese colony, achieved independence after years of protracted struggle. This momentous event marked a significant milestone in the decolonization of Africa and highlighted the broader movement for self-determination across the continent. Angola's path to independence was fraught with challenges, yet it ultimately represented a triumph for its people and a pivotal shift in the geopolitical landscape of Africa. The struggle for Angolan independence was a complex and multifaceted conflict that spanned several decades. Following World War II, a wave of decolonization swept across Africa as countries began to assert their right to self-governance. In Angola, nationalist movements emerged, seeking to end Portuguese colonial rule that had persisted since the late 15th century. Various groups, including the Popular Movement for the Liberation of Angola, or the MPLA, the National Front of the Liberation of Angola, the FNLA, and the National Union for the Total Independence of Angola, which is UNITA, or UNITA, formed to fight against colonialism. The war for independence escalated in the 1960s, marked by armed resistance and guerrilla warfare against Portuguese forces. Now, despite facing significant military opposition, the nationalist movements gained support from both the local population and international allies. The struggle was not only about political autonomy, but also about addressing social injustices and the economic disparities fostered under colonial rule. The turning point came in the mid-70s when Portugal faced a revolution at home, leading to a withdrawal from its colonies in Africa. Amidst this backdrop, the MPLA emerged as the dominant force in Angola, ultimately declaring independence on November 11th of 1975. The event was celebrated as a victory for the Angolan people, marking the end of centuries of colonial domination. Now, however, the celebration was tempered by the onset of civil conflict as rival factions, particularly UNITA and FNLA, contested the power. The ensuing civil war would last for nearly 3 decades, resulting in significant suffering and loss of life. And despite this turmoil, the independence of Angola signified a critical moment in the global decolonization movement, inspiring other nations still under colonial rule to seek their freedom. The independence of Angola on this date in 1975 had profound implications for the country and the wider African continent. It not only marked the end of Portuguese colonial rule, but also ushered in a new era of governance and national identity. The post-independence period was characterized by attempts to build a cohesive nation amid ethnic divisions and political rivalries, which a challenge that continues to affect Angola today. Angola's independence, or their journey to independence, also contributed to a broader narrative of decolonization in Africa, as many countries sought to shake off the remnants of colonialism and establish their sovereignty. The struggles faced by Angolians resonated with other liberation movements across the continent, reinforcing the idea that self-determination was a fundamental right. The independence of Angola, on this date in 1975, represents a significant chapter in the history of decolonization and self-determination in Africa. And while the immediate aftermath was marked by civil conflict, the event itself stands as a testament to the resilience of the Angolan people and their quest for autonomy. And as we reflect on this historic moment, we recognize its lasting impact on Angola and the broader context of African liberation movements, serving as a reminder of the ongoing journey toward peace and stability in the region. And there you have it. An interesting event, and all three events commemorating today, November 11th, Veterans Day, which happens to be Veterans Day. And what better way to look back at these particular events and see where we've come and how far we have come. And we're still learning, too. We're still learning about ourselves and those who fought for our freedom and those who continue to fight for our freedom. Democracy is a very touchy subject, folks. The true meaning of democracy is one of which people of all races, creeds, and cultures can come to the table and debate their issues, debate their problems, solve their situations without backlash, without violence, without wars. It's democracy in that we all get a say in the process. Democracy is something that we cherish very much because our country was made by democracy, with the forefathers, with George Washington leading us, the father of our country. If the forefathers of today saw what we were going through, or of yesterday, see what we're going through today, I think they would kind of have to be like, this is not what we built this country on. We built this country for freedom and for peace, for prosperity, capitalism, something as the lifeblood of America, where all people can come and live a life of happiness and pursue their dreams. That's what true democracy is all about. Unfortunately, we've got people in our country that think democracy is something else, something that is not true democracy. Democracy is what it is, and it stands for what it stands. And without democracy, there is chaos, violence, and what will end up being a war we might live to regret if that is the case. Take democracy very seriously, folks, because it is the lifeblood of our country that makes our country great for what it really is. And whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, note that with democracy, with true democracy, those on the left and those on the right can put their differences on the table and come to a compromise that works for not just both sides, but for the good of the people. That's what we want. That's what we're working for. And we will continue to work for it. Whoever stands in front of us and tries to stop us, we stand our ground and we remember what our military did for us those many decades and centuries ago to bring us to where we are today. That's all for today on our first show, folks, from the Stretch. I'm Jason DeCanio, and remember, of course, keep the peace, be honest, be real, and always speak from your heart. We'll see you tomorrow to talk about the events that happened on November 12th and the many years and wherever the current events take us. And we'll also be delving into some other topics as we get more and more into this show. This show can go either way, and we hope that you will take part in it. Thank you for joining me here in this first half-hour show. We'll see you tomorrow. Till then, good night, and always remember, you are truly blessed.